and sustainable investments to tackle these challenges. This document is an indispensable reference for countries aiming to translate the goals of CDC6 into concrete and effective actions. What is Portugal doing in this regard? Portugal is implementing policies that integrate water and health at every level. First one, a national strategy. Water that unites. We have launched an integrated approach to manage water resources, addressing climate pressures and ensuring water for essential uses. This strategy includes investments in critical infrastructure, such as linking the Alqueva Reservoir, the largest freshwater lake in Europe, to Santa Clara, a dam in the Algarve. Building a new dam in Fagilde, a structure in the central northern Portugal that failed during the 2017 drought, leaving an entire population without water. But also developing a desalination plant in the Algarve and also a dam in Pisão. Second, promoting climate resilience. Our commitment to resilience is evident in regions like the Algarve, Portugal's southernmost area, heavily affected by drought. For this region, we unlocked €466 million to reinforce water infrastructure. Third one, policy international cooperation. We led a European effort with nearly all EU member states to prioritize water on the European Commission agenda. Furthermore, as the Spanish authorities here in this pavilion can testify, we reached an innovative agreement with Spain on Iberian river basins. This agreement eliminates zero flows days on the shared Tagus River, the largest in the Iberian Peninsula, and we established ecological flows on the Guadiana River, both of which originate in Spain and flow into Portugal. And then the last one, alignment with the Protocol on Water and Health. Portugal has utilized the protocol as a tool to align international commitments with national actions, strengthening governance and translating CDC6 goals into concrete policies. To illustrate this, on June 4th and 5th this year, Portugal hosted the workshop Increasing Climate Resilience of the Water and Sanitation Sector in the Mediterranean Region, organized under the Protocol on Water and Health. This event, held in a beautiful hall at the Ministry of Environment and Energy in Lisbon, was a milestone in fostering the exchange of best practice, sharing experience, and promoting coordinated action to enhance water resilience in the region, and believe that Portugal has good practices in this sector. Ladies and gentlemen, water is the foundation of life and the key to a sustainable future. Addressing water challenges requires leadership, international cooperation, and a commitment to transformative actions. Portugal reaffirms its commitment to a sustainable water management and public health promotion, contributing knowledge and experience to achieve global goals. That's why together let us translate our goals into concrete actions and create a future where water is not only a resource, but also a symbol of unity and resilience. Once again, thank you very much. Thank you. Muchas gracias, Spain.
Dear colleagues, Dear distinguished partners of UNECE, State Secretary, thank you very much for convening this very important event on the Protocol on Water and Health. I happen to be the co-secretary to the protocol together with my fellow colleague Sonia, who is over here in the second row, and we are very pleased to have that event together with Spain today. Thank you very much for this initiative. So water, as we have heard already from the previous two speakers, is a key medium through which climate change impacts people, society, but also ecosystems. And previous speakers have already drew our attention to the fact that we see more and more impacts coming through water in terms of extreme weather events, but also long-term impacts that we see coming out of climate change. And I join the previous speakers by expressing our deep condolences to the tragic events that we continue to see in the Valencia region. And our heart, our soul, and our thoughts are with the people in the region. And we continue working with the Ministry of Health in Spain in addressing what we see coming through at the moment in the region. So we stand ready and continue to support you with that. A lot of progress has been made in the past decades when we look at securing access and improving access of the people to basic and safely managed water and sanitation services. But there are many people still in the region who do not benefit these services, have not access to basic and safely managed water and sanitation services, and we are not meeting their needs at the moment. And let me remind you that today is World Toilet Day, and World Toilet Day is a strong reminder on that we actually need to work further in improving access of the people to have a safe toilet and safe sanitation systems. In the European region alone, we still have 200 million people who do not have access to a safely managed sanitation system, so there is a lot of work ahead. Climate change is adding to that challenge. For those who have services already, climate change is putting new question marks out there in how far these services are actually ready to respond to the short-term and long-term changes that we see coming through to climate change. For those who do not have services, the situation is even getting worse due to the changing climate in terms of having less water available, in terms of having lower quality water available, and in terms of having infrastructures not functional anymore that are in place. So that is kind of the job ahead. And as Dimitri has also said in his opening remarks, working on resilience in water and sanitation also means working on resilience of communities. Water and sanitation services are an essential part of community resilience, and you cannot imagine any health system working properly and providing quality of care and appropriate health services without a proper water, sanitation and hygiene system in place. So this is how all these things come together. Accelerating resilience is key. The floods in Valencia, but also elsewhere across Europe, have been a grim reminder that extreme weather events induced by the changing climate overwhelm systems, water and sanitation systems. They cause damage, and they make people vulnerable to water-related disease. So that is what we see coming through at the moment, but of course we also have longer-term and deeper impacts from the changing climate, like drought. Previous speakers have been addressing drought, water quality changes in the long term with chemical and microbial water pollution accelerating through the changing climate, but also treatment systems, for example, getting overwhelmed by these changes. Dimitri has already introduced some of the core pillars of the protocol. The protocol is a platform, a community of practice, if you wish, anchored in a legal instrument that is facilitating the exchange and is facilitating and promoting political momentum in terms of improving the resilience of wash services in the region. And we are facilitating through the protocol learning, peer-to-peer support, peer-to-peer exchange, but also nudging policy changes and nudging kind of defining positions for policymakers in what directions they can walk by increasing resilience. Target setting and reporting is an important element, but let me remind you that the protocol is also has legal requirements when it comes to establishing early warning systems, which become more and more important in the light of the changing climate, that the protocol is promoting climate-sensitive surveillance systems, both for climate-sensitive diseases as well as for water quality, and the protocol is also promoting risk-based management of water supply and sanitation systems. Again, Dimitri, I keep on referring to your opening remarks. You have already been mentioning that one of the major outcomes of our work under the protocol in the recent past was a strategic paper as a fallout of the strategic workshop that we had last year with the protocol community on strengthening climate resilience in the drinking water and sanitation sector. And that document takes stock on the one hand of what the situation currently looks like in the European region when it comes to the impact of climate change on the water and sanitation sector, but it doesn't stop there. It also basically suggests a portfolio of practical actions and solutions that countries may consider when developing their national strategies and concrete actions in this field. Let me highlight that resilience does not only mean infrastructure. We hear a lot about increasing storage capacities, raising wells to be resilient to floods. We hear about infrastructure investments in, for example, reducing leakage, installing desalination systems. All of that is very, very important and require major investments, but we need to look beyond infrastructures also when we speak about resilience. This, for example, includes day-to-day management of water systems and sanitation systems that take account of what is happening in a specific local area and what impacts we see coming through climate. So, for example, in a local area where you see increased rain events, where you see increased surface runoff, where you see increased microbial contamination, you can deal not necessarily exclusively by infrastructure investments, but you need to develop management and people's skills in order to manage these risks on a day-to-day basis. So we are looking beyond infrastructure. We are also looking at management. We are looking into developing people's skills to be able to operate and manage such systems safely under the changing climate. And of course, we are also looking at adapting financing schemes and regulations. Financing needs to be more in the water and sanitation sector, needs to be strongly tailored to the impact of climate change. So new systems for financing will need to be established, but also regulations need to be supportive of that. The EU Drinking Water Directive that many of you know by heart, I presume, has now actually explicit references to analyze and to map, to analyze and to respond to climate risks in drinking water quality management. So it is a regulation that is already taking into account the changing climate and nudging countries through its provisions in moving in that direction. So my message is, resilience is infrastructure, resilience is day-to-day operation and management, resilience is building the skills of the people to respond to it, resilience is improving financing systems as well as regulatory systems so that they are supportive to climate adaptive management. In conclusion, the protocol, we believe, is a very powerful platform to bring countries, stakeholders together to unpack the agenda of improving climate resilience, to learn from each other of what measures countries take, and we heard already from State Secretary of Portugal of what they are doing, and we will further walk in that direction and mobilizing that peer-to-peer exchange, but at the same time organizing with a strong voice from the protocol community the necessary changes needed in international and national systems. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now we move into the more kind of interactive part of the panel. And with that, I think, first of all, I would just like to very briefly say, in a way, the focus of what we're going to be discussing now. The focus of this panel, we want to take stock of the main climate threats and risks affecting water and sanitation services in terms of impacts on human health and the environment. So I think, so we frame ourselves on what the discussion that we're going to be having now with our mini community of practice that we have here between Spain, the Netherlands, and Uzbekistan. We're going to focus on action options, for different stakeholders, that have to share responsibility when it comes to water and sanitation services in provision to address, for basically all the people, and in a way, not just people, but in a way, I'm thinking of also of the concept of One Health that sometimes we've discussed, this idea that we need to have a systemic view on the health system and also on the water system. So we're now going to be discussing, basically, on a practical level with 3 different countries, the role that the Protocol on Water and Health can play in building this climate resilience that this COP29 is now becoming central to. So with that, I'm now going to turn to my panel of speakers. And first I'm going to basically, if each of you could just very briefly respond to some of the questions. So the first one is, the first question is, what are the main challenges that you're facing at the moment in relation to climate change impacts on water and sanitation? And basically, if you could just give a few brief, you can't hear? No? Okay. Okay, so just basically the first question, can you hear me? No? Yeah? Okay, I think we'll wait. Okay, yes? It's okay now? Yes. Okay, so I just explained the kind of the main reason why we're here, and we're not just going to have 2 rounds of questions where we want to really hear the experiences of how do we actually implement this water and health protocol on the ground, listen to your experience. So we're just going to have 2 rounds of questions, and the first question is really just kind of where we are now. What are the main challenges that you are facing in relation to climate change impacts on water and sanitation services, and particularly in relation to health. So first, I'll give the word to Mr. Hector.
Okay, thank you so much for being here, and thank you, Elena, for the introduction. It's hard to say anything after my previous colleagues, Oliver and Dimitri, but at the moment I can speaking from Spain. Speaking from Spain is different. It's difficult not to see that the most important impact right now is the consequences of the flooding in the region of Valencia, especially for the sanitation services. What we have, I'm not going into the details of what happened. It's more than 200 deaths and a huge amount of material damage. But what we are seeing here now in the respect to water and health is basically we have in the first days after the event we were very centered on the surveillance and looking for diseases, the epidemiological surveillance. This was more or less managed. We also have in the first 2-3 days problems with the water supply. You have to think that around 1 million people were affected by the flooding, and in the first day I think like a couple of 100,000 people were without water supply in the first 2 days. But it wasn't the biggest problem because after 3-4 days most of the people had water supply. not in all cases was for human consumption, but I think that, I mean, in very few time we could reduce this amount of people to I mean, 10,000, something like that. The most important problem right now, and the long-term problem, is the complete destruction for a lot of villages of the sewage system and the sanitation system. The amount of the flood was so big that for some water treatment plants, there were 3 meters of water and mud above the water treatment. 50% of all the water treatment plants in the zone has been completely destroyed. And right now we have 70% of the water, sanitation and sewage is operating, but we have 30% of water sanitation in the zone which is not working properly. And we are having this problem with big mud and debris clogging the sewage, and we are beginning to see some problems of fecal waters coming into houses and all these things. So we have a huge problem because it's very complicated. For example, for the water tanks, not the water supply tanks, the water for human consumption, but the tank trunks. Sorry, we have to remove the mud. It's very difficult to access to the zone. You have 5 hours. The roads are collapsed. A lot of roads are destroyed, and it's this is something that you don't expect until you see. But that's been a huge problem also. And the other thing, and I end with this, is I was talking with Oliver, and
week there was on the news we heard that one of the provinces in the south of the Netherlands has a shortage of drinking water. And in the Netherlands, drinking water companies are already using all the surface and groundwater that they are licensed to extract. So we need to develop alternatives and radically change the way that we use, manage and value water. That starts by raising awareness within the public and industry and on limiting the use of water. But at the same time, we need to build larger reservoirs to capture water from the wetter periods. But I don't need to explain to you, I think that also has consequences for health. There are risks in terms of, in combination with the higher temperatures, of new vector-borne diseases. We don't have malaria and dengue now in the Netherlands, but it's anticipated it will be endemic within 10 or 20 years. I think this underlines the importance of a whole-of-government approach, so when building new reservoirs, taking into consideration also the health impacts. So we need a multi-sectoral, multidisciplinary approach. And the protocol helps us with this. So especially in looking at in terms of prevention and reduction of water-related diseases. Just this year, the Netherlands, together with Peru, sponsored the resolution on climate change and health at the World Health Assembly, and that also mentions the importance of water and the importance of aligning with the protocol. So at all levels, we need to be putting this higher on the agenda, and at national level, we need to be looking at how the protocol can help us to develop strategies and adaptation plans. So the Netherlands will stay committed to the protocol, and we look forward to working with colleagues and learning from others. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now, Mr. Talipov, what's your experience from Uzbekistan?
Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this side event. I'm Jahangir Talib from Uzbekistan, and also would like to take the opportunity to express the condolence of the people of Spain or the recent events. And responding to your question, I'd like to also mention that Uzbekistan has joined to the protocol on water and health as a 29th state. About a year ago, we have become an official member, ratified this protocol, and we are so far, we are the only country in Central Asia to be a member of this treaty. And why it was important for Uzbekistan? Maybe I will come from this angle, responding to your questions. Is because in recent years, in Uzbekistan, we observed dramatic change and melting glaciers, the change on the water regime. And we all know that Uzbekistan, unfortunately, known also the country with the Aral Sea tragedy, where one of the biggest inland lake has been shrunk dramatically. And as a country where over the 70% of the water volume forms in the neighboring states, upper stream countries in the Central Asia, and we observe the dramatic melt of the glaciers, dramatic impact on the water regimes, and with that, it's increasing our water stress state or the circumstances, and which will certainly impact and directly will have an impact on the water sanitation, water availability, water hygiene, and other issues. So we're joining this treaty to, first of all, to really learn from the UNECE member states to those countries who already have implementing this water sewage cleaning treaties and the standards in relation to health. And it's important for us to also, implement to have these high standards on the water. In fact, in the recent years, the number of the multi-million projects has been cancelled or replaced because of their not meeting the standards, national standards. So for us, it's very crucially important to have this water treatment, water sewage standards in place, and to ensure the health of the population, ensure of the communities, because Uzbekistan is one of the most high populated country in the region, with over 37 million people, population of the country, and the majority to be living in rural areas where they still use the drinking water from the wells or the river for the irrigation, for other purposes. We really want to have these standards and clean water for our communities. And the changing climate, these impacts are also increasing the risks of this. And we stand by, very much committed to work within the protocol of the water and health to report timely to our progress and to cooperate with UNECE. And in this regard, we welcome the UNECE's and other Swiss government support on the newly launched project on the aim to further build the institutional capacity, legal framework in the country. And we stand by committed on this our actions in this area. I thank you for this giving the floor and opportunity. Thank you.
So I'll now pass on the second question, and then at the end, Ana Barreira, director of IDIMA, will give the concluding comments, from our panel. But the second question, I think, is really getting on to what Mr. Oliver presented, and Mr. Dimitri about the protocol of water and health, and the question is, how do you think this kind of protocol, can really help, which is legally binding, kind of help you with your targets, your reporting, and kind of exchanging knowledge? How do you, what is the added value in a way of this protocol from the perspective of from your countries? And maybe we start with the newcomer into the protocol, Mr. Talipov, and then we'll go the other way around. So.
Thank you. But I think it somehow partially answered to my this question in my first response, was that referring that we're working with Swiss government, with other UNECE Secretariat on the protocol on water and health, and in the country we have established a steering committee responsible from all the relevant stakeholder engagements after joining this protocol, led by Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Health. We closely, day to day, our experts are in touch with this team, and within the government we have already established team, responsible parties working with this, with the Secretariat and the side from the UNECE. So, and this fact, having a new project with Swiss government support is helping us not only to increase our, legal framework, institutional capacity, but also with that we also want to work on meeting the SDG targets, 6 and on the water. So I think with meeting this better policy, better actions on the water and health, we will also contribute to our SDG global targets. So I know the time concerns. I'll stop it here, and I would like to pass the floor for my distinguished panelists. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, in the Netherlands, we have a national public health institute that also has responsibility for the environment. So we have under one roof the expertise that's needed to bring together on this issue. That's why we're also actively involved in the working groups of the protocol, which are really helpful for us in terms of sharing expertise, but also learning from other countries. So we've been very active in the safe management of water supply and sanitation systems, and also more recently on the increasing resilience to climate change working group. But quite concretely, we've used the protocol in terms of putting water and sanitation into our own national adaptation strategy and the multi-annual Delta program. We have with major investments in terms of the water management of the Netherlands. And we're in the process of setting national standard targets for water and sanitation. And also in that, we're using the protocol. So, yes, very valuable. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Very briefly, because we have almost no time. And in Spain, we are proud partners of the protocol, and we are reporting our targets. I mean, the last report was a couple of years ago, maybe, and I think we all think in both the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Ecological Transition is a very valuable tool in order to think about climate and water and health, and we will support this protocol all the time.
Thank you very much. I don't know if we have time, just to have some concluding remarks, from Ana Barrera, who's a practicing lawyer, so then she can give us her
So thank you. I will do a very brief closing remarks because we don't have much time now. But after we have heard all the panelists today, first I want to remember how it is defined at the UNFCCC what the climate system is, which is the totality of the atmosphere, the geosphere, the biosphere, and the hydrosphere and the geosphere and their interaction. So that's why this water protocol on health and water is so important, because we have to abandon the silo thinking that has been always in the legal arena. And there are a lot of interconnections with all the multilateral environmental agreements, as it is the protocol on water and health, and it has been very clear today. In fact, I want just to emphasize the forward-looking vision that this protocol had when it was adopted, because it's not only focused on human health, but also on the health of water ecosystems. So it was there already in 1999, the One Health concept included in this text. And this has been said, but I just want to bring it to the upper level, because I'm a lawyer, and law is so important to fight not only climate change, but all and to be aligned with all the planetary boundaries. And in addition, it was a reflection of fundamental human rights, and the implementation of this protocol, I want to emphasize, it's to put in practice, when this protocol is implemented, it put in practice and respect the right to water and sanitation, which is part of the recently recognized right to a safe, healthy, and sustainable environment recognized by the General Assembly in July 2022. So the protocol is key to respect that right. Finally, I want to emphasize some of the features of this protocol, because it emphasizes on cooperation. Multilateral cooperation is essential to face all the environmental challenges of our planet is facing, and humans we are facing. And in addition, it speaks about multi-level governance, which is key. I mean, we are here at an international negotiation, but all the commitments achieved at the international level must be implemented at the national level, and it will depend also on the administrative systems that every country has. That's why this protocol emphasizes on the role of local levels, local authorities that have a very important role to play for achieving the right to water, sanitation, and to a healthy and sustainable environment. So thank you very much.